My fiancé told me he was gay to avoid marrying me. That same night I found him in bed with my mother. I still walked down the aisle with someone no one expected. The music swelled. 200 guests rose to their feet. And standing at the altar in a custom tuxedo, watching me walk toward him with those sharp gray eyes, was my fiancé's father. Not my fiancé, his father. The officiant cleared his throat, opened his book, and began, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." That is when my ex-fiancé shot to his feet in the third row. "Stop!" His voice cracked through the room like a gunshot. "You can't do this." Every head turned. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My hand tightened on my bouquet, but I did not move, did not flinch. Harrison Holloway turned slowly from the altar, looked at his son with an expression of cold amusement, and said in that commanding voice that had built empires, "Can't I? She's my fiancée." Barrett's face was red, twisted with rage and disbelief. She was. Harrison's words were precise, cutting. "You ended that this morning. Remember?" My mother stood up from the front row, her face pale, mascara already running. "Paige, please, don't do this because you're hurt." Harrison did not even look at her. "Sit down, Jillian. You've done enough." The power in his voice was absolute, final. My mother sat back down like a scolded child, and I felt something surge through me. Not just satisfaction, power. Harrison turned back to me, extended his hand. "Are you ready, Miss Dalton?" I took his hand. My voice came out clear, steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. The officiant looked between us, completely lost, but Harrison simply said, "Continue." And he did. 6 hours earlier, my fiancé had told me he was gay. 3 hours before that, I found him in bed with my mother. And now I was about to become his stepmother. Let me tell you how I got here. If you have ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to love you, I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. New York, Texas, California, Florida, or anywhere in the world. Or just type "I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline." Because what I am about to tell you will make you angry. It will break your heart. But I promise, the ending is worth every single second. And subscribe, because this channel is for everyone who has ever had to rebuild themselves from ashes. Everyone who refused to stay broken. Now let me take you back. Back to when I still believed in fairy tales. Back to when I thought I knew what love looked like. My name is Paige Dalton. I am 30 years old, a corporate attorney in Boston, and 6 hours before I was supposed to marry Barrett Holloway, heir to the Holloway Technologies fortune, I woke up believing my life was perfect. I woke up in a hotel suite at the Fairmont Copley Plaza, surrounded by my bridesmaids. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Someone had already ordered champagne and mimosas. My best friend Kennedy was laughing about something, holding up my veil like a trophy. "This is it, Paige." She grinned at me. "Today you become Mrs. Barrett Holloway." I smiled. I was so happy. So naive, so completely unaware that in a few hours everything I believed about my life would shatter into 1,000 cutting pieces. But before I tell you about the destruction, you need to understand what was destroyed. You need to know who I was before that day, because that is what makes this story so much worse. I was not some fool who ignored red flags. I was a smart, successful woman who thought she had finally found her happily ever after. Let me take you back further, back to the beginning. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. Just me and my mother, Jillian Dalton. My father left when I was 5 years old. Just walked out one day and never came back. I have maybe 3 memories of him. A deep voice, big hands lifting me up, the smell of cologne. That is it. He was a ghost in my life, barely real. My mother raised me alone. She was a nurse, worked double shifts at Providence Portland Medical Center. Long hours, exhausting work. But she did it all for me. That is what she always said. "Everything I do is for you, baby, so you can have the life I never had." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She came to every school play, every parent-teacher conference. She helped me with homework even when she was dead on her feet from a 12-hour shift. When I got accepted to Boston University for pre-law, she cried. Happy tears, proud tears. "You are going to do amazing things, sweetheart." She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "You are going to be everything I dreamed of." I went to Boston at 18, thrived there, Loved the city, the energy, the possibility. I graduated top of my class from BU, went straight to Suffolk University Law School, graduated in the top 10%, got hired at Morrison and Crane, one of Boston's most prestigious corporate law firms. I was 26, making six figures, living in a nice apartment in Back Bay. I had made it, become exactly what my mother had sacrificed for. And I was lonely. Work consumed me. 80-hour weeks, constant pressure, cases that kept me up at night. I dated occasionally, but nothing stuck. The men I met were either intimidated by my success or trying to compete with it. I started to think maybe I was too focused on my career. Maybe I had missed my window for love. I remember calling my mother one night after a particularly brutal week. I was sitting in my apartment, looking out at the Boston skyline, feeling so alone despite being surrounded by millions of people. "Baby, what's wrong?" she asked. I could hear the concern in her voice. "I don't know, Mom," I said. "I have everything I'm supposed to want. The job, the apartment, the life. But something is missing. You need someone to share it with," she said softly. "You need love, sweetheart. A partner, someone who sees how amazing you are. I don't think that person exists. He does," she said with such certainty. "And when you meet him, you'll know. Trust me." I wanted to believe her, wanted to think that somewhere out there was a man who would love me, support me, build a life with me. But I was starting to lose hope. Then I met Barrett Holloway. It was 3 years ago, a charity gala at the Museum of Fine Arts. My firm had bought a table, and I was there representing Morrison and Crane because the senior partners were all out of town. I did not want to be there. I was exhausted from a brutal week, and I had a deposition to prep for on Monday. But I went. Put on a black dress, heels, makeup, played the part. The event was exactly what I expected. Wealthy people pretending to care about art while actually networking and showing off. I was standing by the bar, nursing a glass of wine and counting the minutes until I could leave, when someone spoke beside me. "The Rothko is better." I turned. He was tall, handsome in that polished, privileged way. Dark hair, blue eyes, expensive suit that fit perfectly. He was looking at the painting I had been staring at without really seeing. "Excuse me?" I said. "The Rothko." He gestured toward another wall. "If you are going to zone out while staring at art, that one is more interesting. Better color composition." "I am not zoning out." I lied. "I am appreciating the brushwork." He smiled. It was a good smile. Warm, genuine. "No, you are definitely zoning out. I have been watching you for 10 minutes. You have not moved. Have not even blinked." "That is creepy," I said, but I was smiling too. Observant. He corrected. "I am Barrett Holloway." He extended his hand. I shook it. His hand was warm, his grip firm but not aggressive. "Paige Dalton." "What brings you here, Paige Dalton?" "Besides the excellent wine and mediocre art." "Work obligation." "You?" "Family obligation. My father is on the museum board. He thinks it is good for the company image if I show up to these things." "And is it?" "Absolutely not. But it got me a chance to talk to you, so maybe tonight it was worth it." It should have been cheesy. It was the kind of line that normally would have made me roll my eyes. But something about the way he said it, self-aware and honest, made me laugh instead. We talked for 3 hours. About art, about work, about the absurdity of events like this where people paid $1,000 a plate to eat food they did not want while looking at art they did not understand. He was funny, smart, easy to talk to. He asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in corporate law, even though most people found it boring. "So, you negotiate contracts?" he asked. "Among other things, mergers, acquisitions, litigation when necessary. Basically, I help rich people get richer while protecting them from other rich people." He laughed. "Honest. I like that. What about you? What does an heir to a tech fortune do all day?" "Try to prove to his father that he's worthy of the family name." He said it lightly, but I caught something underneath. Pain, maybe. Or fear. "I am sure you're more than worthy. Tell that to Harrison Holloway." He took a drink of his wine. "My father doesn't believe in participation trophies. You either succeed or you're a disappointment. No middle ground. That sounds exhausting." "It is." He looked at me then, really looked at me. "That's why talking to you is so refreshing. You don't know anything about me. Don't have any expectations or preconceived notions. I'm just a guy at a boring art gala. You're not just anything, I said. You're interesting and honest. That's rare. So are you. When he asked for my number at the end of the night, I gave it to him without hesitation. There was something about Barrett that felt safe, comfortable, like coming home. He called 2 days later, asked me to dinner. I said yes. Our first date was at a small Italian place in the North End. He showed up on time, flowers in hand, and we talked until the restaurant closed. He asked about my childhood, my relationship with my mother, what made me want to become a lawyer. I wanted to help people. I told him. I know that sounds naive, but when I was growing up, my mom worked so hard just to keep us afloat. I saw how the system was rigged against people like us. I wanted to be on the other side, wanted to have power, and now you do. Now I do. But sometimes I wonder if I'm using it the right way. If helping corporations get richer is what I'm meant to do. What would you do if you could do anything? He asked. I thought about it. Start my own firm, maybe. Take cases that matter. Use my skills for something more than padding quarterly earnings. You should do it. He said simply, it's not that easy. Starting a firm takes capital, connections, clients. I'm not there yet. But you will be. He looked at me with such certainty. I can tell. You're going to do amazing things, Paige Dalton. The second date was a weekend trip to Nantucket. We walked on the beach, ate fresh seafood, stayed up late talking about our dreams, our fears, our secrets. I told him about my father leaving, about growing up feeling like half of me was missing, about working so hard to be enough for my mother, to justify her sacrifices. He told me about losing his mother to cancer when he was 8, about Harrison sending him to boarding school 2 months after the funeral because he didn't know how to raise a child alone, about spending his entire childhood trying to earn a father's love that never came. We bonded over absent parents and loneliness and the drive to prove ourselves worthy of love. I fell for him slowly, carefully. I had been hurt before, had learned not to trust too quickly. But Barrett was patient. He never pushed, never demanded. He let me set the pace, let me decide when I was ready for more. 6 months in, he told me he loved me. We were walking through the public garden on a Sunday morning, autumn leaves falling around us, the air crisp and perfect. He just said it. Simple, honest. I love you, Paige. I stopped walking, looked at him standing there in the morning light, leaves in his dark hair, blue eyes serious and vulnerable. I love you too, I said, and I meant it. I really, truly meant it. A year after we met, I moved into his townhouse in Beacon Hill. It was beautiful. 4 stories, original hardwood floors, exposed brick, a view of the Charles River from the 3rd floor. It was the kind of place I had dreamed about living in when I first moved to Boston. The kind of place that represented success, achievement, arrival. He offered to put my name on the deed. I said no. Too fast, too much. He did not push, just said, whenever you are ready. That should have been my first clue. He never fought for anything, never pushed back, just agreed, accommodated, avoided conflict. But I told myself he was respectful, considerate, not controlling like other men I had dated. I was so stupid. Living with Barrett was easy. We fell into a comfortable rhythm. He would make coffee in the mornings while I got ready for work. I would tell him about my cases over dinner. We would spend weekends exploring the city, trying new restaurants, visiting museums. Barrett supported my career, came to firm events, introduced me to potential clients, celebrated my victories. When I won my first major case, a complex merger that had taken 6 months of brutal negotiations, he took me to Paris for a long weekend. When I made junior partner, he threw me a surprise party with all my friends and colleagues. He was kind, generous, stable. My mother loved him. That mattered to me more than it should have. Jillian had never approved of anyone I dated, always found something wrong, too arrogant, too boring, too intimidated by you. But Barrett, she adored from the first time they met. I flew her out to Boston a month after I moved in with Barrett. Wanted her to see my new life, my new home. Wanted her approval, even though I was 30 years old and should not have needed it anymore. She arrived on a Friday afternoon. Barrett picked her up from the airport while I was finishing up at work. When I got home, I found them in the kitchen together, laughing over something. He was cooking, she was setting the table, and it looked so natural, so much like family. Baby. She hugged me tight. This place is incredible. And Barrett is wonderful. You really found yourself a good one. I know, I said, feeling so proud, so happy. I really did. That weekend, the three of us did all the touristy Boston things. Walked the Freedom Trail, ate at Quincy Market, watched the sunset from the Esplanade. Barrett and my mother got along perfectly. They had the same sense of humor, the same easy way of talking. I remember watching them joke about something and thinking how lucky I was, how perfect this all was. He is perfect for you, baby. My mother said that Sunday night before her flight back to Portland. Successful, handsome, from a good family, and more importantly, he loves you. I can see it in the way he looks at you. I think he might be the one, Mom. I think so too. She squeezed my hand. Hold on to this, sweetheart. Hold on to him. Men like Barrett don't come around often. I will, I promised. I'm not letting him go. She started visiting more often after that. Once a month became twice a month, became every other weekend. She would fly up from Portland, stay in our guest room, cook dinners, run errands with me. I loved having her close. For my whole childhood, it had been just the two of us against the world. My father was gone, and I had no siblings, no extended family. Just me and Mom. Having her be part of this new chapter felt right. Like all the pieces of my life were finally coming together. Barrett and Jillian got along remarkably well. Better than I expected. Better than seemed normal, if I am being honest. But I did not see it that way at the time. I just saw my fiance and my mother becoming friends. I saw family forming. They would joke together, have long conversations about everything from politics to cooking to childhood memories. Sometimes I would come home from work and find them in the kitchen together, Barrett cooking, while my mother prepped vegetables, both of them talking and laughing like old friends. It made me so happy. My fiancé and my mother, the two most important people in my life, getting along so well. I should have seen it, should have noticed the way she looked at him, the way she would touch his arm when she laughed, letting her hand linger just a beat too long, the way she would compliment him constantly. You look so handsome in that suit, Barrett. Any woman would be lucky to have you. You take such good care of my daughter. The way she would ask about him when we talked on the phone. How is Barrett doing? Is he working too hard? Make sure he is taking care of himself. But I did not see it. Could not see it. Because the idea was too horrifying. Too unthinkable. This was my mother. The woman who raised me, who sacrificed everything for me, who loved me more than anyone in the world. Or so I thought. Barrett proposed 18 months after I moved in with him. We were in Nantucket again, the place where we had our second date. Walking on the beach at sunset, waves crashing, seagulls calling overhead. He stopped walking, turned to face me, took both my hands in his. Paige, he said, you have made me happier than I ever thought I could be. You have given me something I never had before. A real home, a real partner, real love. My heart started racing. I knew what was coming, but I still could not quite believe it. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. He dropped to one knee right there in the sand. Will you marry me? The ring was beautiful. A sapphire surrounded by diamonds, vintage, clearly an heirloom. Yes, I said, tears streaming down my face. Yes, yes, yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, stood up, kissed me while the sun set over the Atlantic and the world felt absolutely perfect. On the drive back to the house we were renting for the weekend, I asked about the ring. It was my grandmother's. Barrett said, the only woman my father ever approved of. I asked him if I could give it to you, and he said yes. That's huge for him. He never approves of anyone. Your father approved? I was shocked. Harrison Holloway barely acknowledged my existence. He said, and I quote, she's intelligent and accomplished. You could do worse. High praise from Harrison Holloway. I laughed. The highest. Barrett squeezed my hand. He wants to have dinner with us next time we're both free. Actually sit down and talk. That has never happened with anyone I've dated. Really? Really? You're special, Paige. Even my father can see that. We called my mother that night. I was too excited to wait. It was almost midnight, but I did not care. She answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. Paige, what's wrong? Nothing is wrong, I said, practically screaming with excitement. Mom, I'm engaged, she screamed. Actually screamed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Oh my God. Baby, I'm so happy for you. We talked for an hour. I described the proposal, the ring, everything. She cried happy tears, told me how proud she was, how excited she was to help plan the wedding. This is everything I ever wanted for you, sweetheart, she said. Everything I dreamed of when you were a little girl. My baby is getting married. Barrett took the phone, talked to her for a few minutes. Thank you for raising such an amazing woman, Jillian. I'm the luckiest man in the world. I heard my mother's voice through the phone, warm and affectionate. You take care of her, Barrett. She's my whole world. I will. I promise. Looking back now, I can see the warning signs. The way she talked about him. The way he talked to her. The familiarity, the warmth, the intimacy that went just a little beyond normal. But I did not see it then. I just saw love, support, family. The wedding planning started immediately. My mother wanted to help with everything, every decision, every detail. At first I was grateful. Planning a wedding while working 80-hour weeks was overwhelming. Having her there made it easier. We picked a date, June 15th, exactly 1 year from the engagement. We booked the Fairmont Copley Plaza, the most beautiful venue in Boston. We hired the best caterer, the best florist, the best photographer. My mother had opinions about everything. The flowers should be white roses and peonies. The invitations should be classic, elegant, cream with gold lettering. The menu should include both fish and beef options. I agreed with most of it. She had good taste, and honestly, I did not care that much about the details. I just wanted to marry Barrett. The rest was just decoration. 6 months before the wedding, my mother made a suggestion that changed everything. We were having lunch at a cafe in Beacon Hill, going over seating charts. She put down her pen, looked at me seriously. Baby, I've been thinking, she said. These next 6 months are going to be crazy with final preparations. What if I moved to Boston temporarily? Just until after the wedding, I could help with everything, make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Mom, that's too much. You have your job, your life in Portland. I can take a leave of absence. I've been at the hospital for 20 years. They owe me. And honestly, sweetheart, I want to be here for this. Want to be part of it. You're my only daughter. This is the only wedding I'll ever get to help plan. She looked at me with such love, such genuine excitement. How could I say no? Are you sure? I asked. Completely sure. She reached across the table, took my hand. Please, Paige, let me do this. Let me be here for you. Okay, I said. I would love that, Mom. She moved to Boston 2 weeks later. Barrett and I helped her get settled in the guest room. It was the nicest guest room, on the 3rd floor with its own bathroom and a view of the river. Make yourself at home, Jillian, Barrett said, carrying her suitcases up the stairs. Stay as long as you want. We love having you here. Thank you, Barrett. She hugged him. You're so good to me, better than I deserve. Nonsense. He hugged her back. Your family. I watched them hug, feeling so grateful that they got along. So many of my friends had issues with their partners and their parents not getting along. But not me. I had the perfect situation, or so I thought. My mother settled into our lives seamlessly. Too seamlessly. She started cooking breakfast every morning. Coffee and pancakes, eggs and bacon, whatever we wanted. She would have it ready by the time we came downstairs, the table set, orange juice poured. You don't have to do this, Mom, I told her. We can grab something on the way to work. I want to, she said. I like taking care of you both. It makes me feel useful. Barrett loved it. This is amazing, Jillian, he would say, digging into his pancakes. I haven't had a home-cooked breakfast in years. Well, you have one now. She would smile, pour him more coffee. As long as I'm here, you're getting proper meals. She did laundry, cleaned the house, ran errands, went grocery shopping, and always knew exactly what we needed. It was like having a live-in housekeeper, except she was my mother and she was doing it out of love. I worked long hours at the firm. A major case had landed on my desk, a complicated merger between 2 tech companies with about 1 million moving parts. I was getting home at 8 or 9 most nights, exhausted and stressed. But dinner would be waiting. My mother and Barrett would have already eaten, but they would sit with me while I ate. Tell me about their day. Make me laugh. Help me decompress. How was court? Barrett would ask. Brutal, I would say. Opposing counsel is an absolute shark. You're a bigger shark, my mother would say. You're going to destroy him. She's right. Barrett would agree. I've seen you in action. You're terrifying when you want to be. They made me feel better. Made me feel supported, loved, cared for. Some nights I would fall asleep on the couch going over case files. I would wake up with a blanket tucked around me, my files neatly stacked on the coffee table, my laptop closed and charging. Barrett would be in bed already. My mother would be in the guest room. Everything normal. Everything perfect. But it was not normal. And it was not perfect. It was a lie. A carefully constructed lie that I was too blind and too trusting to see. Looking back, I can see the moments I should have questioned. The time I came home and they were sitting very close together on the couch, watching a movie. They moved apart when I came in, but not quickly, not guiltily, just casually, like it was normal. The time I heard my mother laughing in Barrett's study late at night. I was in bed, almost asleep, and I heard her voice. "What are you still doing up?" I almost got up to check, but I was so tired. I told myself they were just talking. Just being friendly. The time I walked into the kitchen and they were standing by the counter, his hand on her arm, her looking up at him with an expression I could not quite read. They broke apart when they saw me, but again, casually. Not like they were hiding anything. Just like they were friends. Family. Normal. 2 weeks before the wedding, I had a moment that I dismissed at the time but haunts me now. I came home early from work. Forgot my laptop. Needed it for a client call. I let myself in quietly. Did not want to disturb anyone. I heard voices from the kitchen. Barrett and my mother, talking low. Something in their tone made me pause in the hallway. Made me stand there listening instead of announcing myself. "You are so good to me." My mother's voice, soft, intimate. "You are easy to be good to." Barrett's voice, warm. Then silence. Long enough that I almost walked in. But something stopped me. "We should tell her," my mother said quietly. "Tell me what?" I thought, my heart starting to race. "We can't," Barrett said. "Not yet. Not before the wedding. It would ruin everything. But after?" "After," he agreed. I walked into the kitchen then. Heart pounding, mind racing. They were standing by the counter, not touching, but close. Too close. "Hey," I said. "What are you guys doing?" They both turned. No guilt on their faces. No panic. Just smiles. Just talking about the wedding. My mother said brightly. "Barrett was telling me about the honeymoon plans. I thought the honeymoon was a surprise." I said, looking at Barrett. "It is." He came over, kissed my forehead. "I was just telling your mom the general location. She won't tell you. Will you, Jillian?" My lips are sealed. My mother made a zipping motion across her mouth. I wanted to ask what they really meant, what they needed to tell me after the wedding, but I did not. I grabbed my laptop, told them I had to get back to the office, left. In the car, I sat for a moment, trying to process, trying to understand why I felt so uneasy. Maybe they were planning a surprise for me. Maybe they were organizing something special for the reception. Maybe it was nothing. I convinced myself it was nothing, because the alternative was unthinkable. The rehearsal dinner was 1 week before the wedding. We held it at the Harbor Club, right on Boston Harbor with views of the water. 200 guests, everyone who mattered in Boston society. Partners from my firm, executives from Holloway Technologies, family and friends. The room was beautiful. White linens, candles everywhere, flowers on every table. The sun was setting over the harbor, painting everything gold and pink. I wore a cream-colored dress. My mother wore lavender. She looked beautiful, younger than her 55 years. I remember thinking how pretty she looked, how happy, how perfect this all was. Barrett looked handsome in a navy suit. He gave a speech about love and partnership and growth, about how I had changed his life, made him better, made him whole. "Paige is the best thing that ever happened to me," he said, looking right at me. "She is brilliant and beautiful and stronger than anyone I have ever met. Tomorrow, I get to marry her, and I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life proving I deserve her." Everyone applauded. I had tears in my eyes. My mother was crying too, dabbing at her face with a napkin, and Harrison Holloway, Barrett's father, sat at the head table next to me, barely speaking to anyone. I had met Harrison exactly 4 times in the 3 years Barrett and I had been together. 4 times. He was always polite, always formal, always completely distant. He would shake my hand, ask perfunctory questions about my work, and then turn his attention elsewhere. He's not good with people, Barrett would explain. Never has been. But he respects you. I can tell. How can you tell? I asked once. Because he keeps asking about you. Wants to know about your cases, your career. He never asks about anyone. That night at the rehearsal dinner, Harrison sat next to me in silence for most of the meal. We barely spoke. He seemed even more distant than usual, jaw tight, eyes hard. I tried to make conversation. Thank you for coming, Mr. Holloway. I know you are busy. It is my son's wedding, he said without looking at me. Of course I came. We are glad to have you. He turned to me then, really looked at me for maybe the first time ever. Those sharp gray eyes seemed to see straight through me, into my soul, reading things I did not even know were there. Are you? He asked. His voice was strange, hard to read. Of course, I said, confused. You are Barrett's father. You are important to him. Something flickered across Harrison's face. Something I could not read. Pain, maybe. Or anger. Or regret. But then it was gone, replaced by that cool mask he always wore. My son is lucky to have you, Miss Dalton, he said quietly. I hope he knows that. There was something in his tone, something that made me uncomfortable, like he was trying to tell me something without actually saying it. But before I could respond, Barrett stood up to give his speech, and the moment was lost. After the speeches, after the dessert, after the champagne toasts, people started mingling. I was talking to some friends from law school when I saw my mother and Harrison standing together by the bar. They were talking, just talking, but something about it made me pause, made me watch. Harrison never talked to anyone at these events. He showed up, stayed for the minimum required time, and left. But there he was, talking to my mother, and she was smiling, laughing, touching his arm. I felt a flicker of something, unease, suspicion, but I pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid. They were just being polite, making conversation. Kennedy came up beside me. You okay? She asked. You look stressed. Just wedding jitters, I said. One more week. One more week. She clinked her champagne glass against mine. Then you get your happily ever after. I smiled, tried to believe it. One more week. That night ended with Barrett kissing me good night. We were spending the night apart. Tradition. Bad luck to see the bride before the wedding. I was going to the hotel with my bridesmaids. He was going home. I will see you at the altar, he said, holding me close. I cannot wait to marry you, Paige. I cannot wait either, I said, breathing in his familiar scent. One more week. My mother hugged him goodbye, kissed his cheek. Take care of yourself tonight, Barrett. Big day next week. You too, Jillian. He hugged her back, and I noticed how long that hug lasted. Just a beat too long. But I dismissed it. They were close. They were friends. It was normal. Thank you for everything, Barrett said to her, for raising such an amazing daughter, for being so supportive, for being here. Wouldn't miss it for the world, my mother said, and there was something in her voice, something I should have caught. I just got in the car with my bridesmaids and went to the hotel, believing I was the luckiest woman in the world. The week between the rehearsal dinner and the wedding was chaos. Final fittings for the dress, last-minute vendor confirmations, seating, chart changes, a million small details that all seemed crucial. I barely saw Barrett. He was handling things on his end, I was handling things on mine, and we were both working full-time. We would text throughout the day, call at night, but we were ships passing in the night. My mother was a constant presence. Always there, always helpful, always involved. She went to every fitting, every meeting, every tasting. She had opinions about everything, and I welcomed them because I was so overwhelmed. The night before the wedding, we had a small gathering at the hotel. Just my bridesmaids and my mother. No bachelor party for Barrett because he said he didn't want one. Just a quiet night with his best man, he told me. We're too old for that nonsense. Kennedy had organized everything at the hotel. Champagne, snacks, matching pajamas for all of us, face masks, the whole works. It was perfect. Exactly what I needed. We stayed up until midnight, drinking champagne, painting nails, talking about the future, about marriage, about life. Are you nervous? My friend Alexis asked. Terrified. I admitted. What if I trip walking down the aisle? What if I forget my vows? You will be perfect, my mother said. She was sitting next to me, braiding my hair like she used to when I was little. Everything is going to be absolutely perfect, baby. Tell us about the honeymoon, Kennedy said. Where is he taking you? I don't know. I laughed. He won't tell me. Says it's a surprise. My money is on somewhere tropical, Alexis said. Barrett seems like a beach honeymoon guy. We talked and laughed until I could barely keep my eyes open. Finally, around 2 a.m, everyone started falling asleep. Kennedy on the couch, Alexis and the other bridesmaids in the second bedroom, my mother in the armchair. I went to the bedroom, put on my pajamas, climbed into bed. Tomorrow, I would be a bride. Tomorrow, I would marry Barrett Holloway. Tomorrow, my real life would begin. I fell asleep dreaming of white dresses and promises and forever. I woke up at 6 a.m. to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. I reached for it, groggy, confused. Saw Barrett's name on the screen. A text message. We need to talk. Can you come to the house? It's important. My stomach dropped. Immediately, completely, violently. That sick feeling of knowing something is terribly wrong before your brain can even process why. I stared at the message. Read it again. We need to talk. The 4 words no one ever wants to hear, especially not on their wedding day, especially not 6 hours before they are supposed to walk down the aisle. My hands were shaking. I texted back with trembling fingers. What's wrong? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then finally, please just come. Alone. It's about tomorrow, about the wedding. Oh God. What could be wrong? Was he having second thoughts? Cold feet? Was someone hurt? His father? I got out of bed as quietly as possible. Kennedy was still asleep on the couch. My mother was gone from the armchair, probably went to the second bedroom. I did not wake anyone. Just pulled on jeans and a sweater, grabbed my keys and my phone, and left. The drive to Beacon Hill was a blur. Empty streets, because it was so early on a Sunday morning. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky pale pink and gold. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, in my fingertips, everywhere. What could be so wrong that he needed to see me right now? 6 hours before our wedding? What could not wait? I pulled up to our townhouse at 6:28. I remember looking at the clock. 6:28. The time my world would start to end. Barrett's car was in the small driveway beside the house. That was wrong. He was supposed to be at his best man's place, getting ready, following tradition. Why was he here? I used my key, let myself in quietly. The house was dark except for a light coming from the living room. Everything felt wrong. The air felt wrong. The silence felt wrong. Barrett? I called out. My voice sounded small, scared. I heard movement. Found him sitting on the couch, head in his hands. He looked up when I came in, and I saw something in his face I had never seen before. Absolute, paralyzing fear. What happened? I asked, rushing toward him. Are you okay? Is it your father? Is someone hurt? Sit down, Paige, he said. His voice was shaking. Please, sit down. Just tell me what is wrong. I was almost shouting now. Barrett, you are scaring me. Sit down, he said again. I sat, perched on the edge of the armchair across from him, my whole body tense, braced for impact, braced for news of death or disease or disaster. He looked at me for a long moment. I could see him trying to find words, trying to figure out how to say whatever he needed to say. His hands were shaking. His face was pale. I cannot marry you, he finally said. The words did not make sense at first. I heard them, but my brain could not process them. It was like he had spoken a foreign language, like the sounds did not connect to meaning. What? I said. I am sorry. His voice cracked, broke. God, Paige, I am so sorry, but I cannot do this. I cannot lie anymore. Lie about what? My voice was getting louder. Barrett, what are you talking about? He took a shuddering breath, looked at his hands, would not meet my eyes. I am gay. Silence. Complete, absolute, ringing silence. The kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat, your own blood rushing in your ears, the world spinning on its axis. You are. I could not even finish the sentence, could not make my mouth form the word. I have known for years. he said, the words tumbling out now. But my father, you have to understand, my father would never accept it. Would never let me run the company if he knew. The board would never respect me. My entire life, my entire future depends on this image of being a certain kind of man. So I thought if I just married you, if I just played the part, I could make it work. I could make everyone happy. The words kept coming, each one hitting me like a physical blow, like fists to my face, my chest, my stomach. 3 years. 3 years of my life. 3 years of believing he loved me. 3 years of planning a future together. 3 years of saying yes to this man, to this life, to this lie. You used me. I whispered. I care about you. He said quickly, desperately. I do, Paige. You are amazing and brilliant, and I genuinely care about you. Just not like that. Not romantically. Not the way you deserve. I stood up. My legs were shaking so badly I could barely stand, but I stood anyway. You proposed to me. You gave me your grandmother's ring. You let me plan a wedding. You let me believe we were building a life together. I know. He stood too, reached for me with shaking hands. I know, and I am a coward. I am the worst kind of coward, but I cannot go through with it. I cannot stand at that altar in 6 hours and lie to you, to everyone, to myself. I stepped back from his reaching hands. When did you decide this? What? When did you decide you could not marry me? Because this seems awfully last minute, Barrett. Awfully fucking convenient. Last night, he said. After I left the rehearsal dinner, I realized I could not do it. What happened last night? Something in my gut told me there was more. There had to be more. Nothing. Barrett. My voice was hard now. What happened? He looked away, would not meet my eyes. I met someone. The betrayal doubled, tripled, multiplied into something so big I could not even comprehend it. He had not just lied for 3 years. He had not just used me as a shield against his father's expectations. He had found someone else, someone he actually wanted, someone who made him finally tell the truth. You met someone, I repeated, my voice deadly quiet. Yes, and that person made you realize you couldn't keep pretending. Yes, but 3 years with me wasn't enough to make you tell the truth. 3 years of me loving you, supporting you, building a life with you. That wasn't enough. But one night with someone else was. Paige, get out. I said. What? I need you out of this house. Right now. We need to talk about this. About what to tell people. About the wedding. About... Get out. I screamed it. Screamed it so loud my throat hurt. Get out, get out, get out. He flinched. Actually stepped back like I had hit him. Okay. I am sorry. I am so sorry, Paige. He grabbed his keys from the coffee table, walked to the door, paused with his hand on the handle, his back to me. I never wanted to hurt you, he said without turning around. I thought I could make it work. I really did. But you did hurt me, I said. My voice was shaking now, tears finally coming. For 3 years, you hurt me. Every day, every moment, every lie. You hurt me, I know. And now you have destroyed me. 6 hours before our wedding, you have completely destroyed me. He did not respond, just opened the door and left. The door closed behind him, with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. I stood there alone in the living room of the house we shared, the house where I had imagined our future, the house where I thought we would raise children, celebrate anniversaries, grow old together, all of it a lie. I should have left then, should have gotten in my car, driven away, gone back to the hotel, started figuring out how to cancel the wedding, how to tell people, how to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. But I heard something, a sound from upstairs, soft, barely there, but definitely a sound, like footsteps, like someone moving around. My first thought was that Barrett had not been alone, that he had brought someone here, the someone he met, the someone who made him finally tell the truth, and they were still here. Upstairs, in our house. Rage flooded through me, hot and sharp and overwhelming. How dare he? How dare he bring someone to our house 6 hours before our wedding? I climbed the stairs. My hands were clenched into fists. My vision was blurred with tears and anger. I climbed toward our bedroom, toward the sound, toward whatever truth was waiting. The bedroom door was half open. I pushed it wider, ready to confront whoever was there, ready to scream and cry and break things. And there she was, my mother, sitting on the edge of my bed, wearing one of my silk robes, the ivory one I had bought for the wedding night. Her hair was disheveled. Her eyes were wide with panic. For a second, for one perfect second, my brain could not process it, could not make sense of what I was seeing. This was my mother, in my bedroom, in my robe, looking guilty and terrified and caught. "What are you doing here?" I asked. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from someone else. She stood up quickly, too quickly. The robe fell open slightly, and I saw she was not wearing anything underneath it. "Sweetheart," she said. Her voice was shaking. "I can explain." And then I saw them. Men's clothes on the floor, expensive clothes, a suit jacket, charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, designer. I had seen that jacket before, recently, last night. Harrison Holloway had worn that jacket to the rehearsal dinner. My vision narrowed, the room tilted, everything slowed down and sped up at the same time. "Where is he?" I asked. My voice was deadly quiet now, deadly calm. "Who?" My mother's face was white. "Do not," I pointed at her. "Do not lie to me right now, Mom. Where is he?" The bathroom door opened, and Harrison Holloway stepped out. He was fully dressed now, hair perfect despite the early hour, face completely composed, like this was a business meeting, like he had not just been caught in bed with his son's fiance's mother on his son's wedding day. "Miss Dalton," he said, as casual as if we had run into each other at a coffee shop, as calm as if this were perfectly normal. I looked between them. My mother in my robe, her hair a mess, her face guilty. Harrison Holloway in his expensive suit, looking at me with those cold gray eyes. They had been here together, in my bed, in my house, while Barrett was downstairs ending our engagement. "How long?" I asked. The question came out strangled, barely audible. My mother started crying, real tears streaming down her face. "Baby, please. Let me explain. It isn't what you think. How long?" I asked again, louder this time. Harrison's expression did not change, did not flicker. He just looked at me with those assessing eyes and said, 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. My mother had been sleeping with Barrett's father for 6 months. Since she moved to Boston, since she moved into our house, since she became part of our daily lives. Every breakfast she made, every dinner she cooked, every wedding detail she helped with, all of it while she was fucking my fiance's father. The betrayal was so complete, so total, so incomprehensible that I could not even process it. Could not find words big enough or terrible enough to encompass what this meant. "Did Barrett know?" I finally managed to ask. Harrison nodded once. Sharp, controlled. "He confronted me last night, after the rehearsal dinner, came to my hotel room and accused me, threatened to tell you, to ruin the wedding, to expose everything." "And what did you say?" Harrison's jaw tightened slightly, the first crack in his composure. "I told him he could either confess to something himself and end this quietly, or I would ensure everyone knew what kind of family he came from. Apparently he chose his own truth over mine. That was it. That was why Barrett had suddenly decided he was gay. Not because he finally found the courage to live his truth, but because he discovered his father was sleeping with his fiance's mother and he panicked, needed an escape, any escape. So he threw me a different lie, one that would make me leave him alone, one that would end the wedding without exposing this. You are monsters," I said, looking between them. "You are both absolute monsters." My mother was sobbing now, mascara running down her face in black streams. "Baby, please, please just listen. I did not mean for this to happen. You did not mean for what to happen." I was shouting now. "You did not mean to sleep with my fiance's father. You did not mean to lie to me for 6 months. You did not mean to help plan my wedding while betraying me in the worst possible way." "I was lonely," she said through her sobs. "After all these years alone, after your father left, I just wanted to feel wanted, desired. Harrison made me feel young again, made me feel beautiful. So you destroyed your daughter's life because you were lonely." I stared at her, this woman who raised me, This woman I trusted more than anyone in the world. You destroyed my wedding, my relationship, my future because you wanted to feel beautiful? Sweetheart, please, don't call me that. I stepped back. Don't you ever call me that again. Harrison was watching this exchange with that same cold, clinical expression, like he was observing an interesting business negotiation, not the complete destruction of multiple lives. What are you going to do, Miss Dalton? He asked. His voice was calm, curious. I looked at him. This man I barely knew. This cold, ruthless billionaire who had destroyed my wedding day without a second thought, who looked at me now like I was a problem to be managed, not a person whose life had just been obliterated. I don't know yet, I said. My voice was shaking, but I kept my eyes on his. But you're both going to pay for this. I promise you that. Harrison's eyebrow raised slightly. A threat, Miss Dalton? A promise, I said. Then I turned and walked out, down the stairs, out the front door, into the early morning sunlight that felt too bright, too cheerful for the devastation inside me. I got in my car, started the engine. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely grip the steering wheel. My phone started buzzing. Multiple calls, multiple texts. My bridesmaids were awake and wondering where I was. The wedding planner was calling about final confirmations. The florist had a question about the bouquets. In less than 6 hours, 200 people would gather at the Fairmont Copley Plaza expecting a wedding, expecting to see me in my ivory dress walking down the aisle to marry Barrett Holloway, expecting happily ever after. They were not going to get it. I could cancel, could call the wedding planner right now, could quietly call off the wedding, make up some excuse, protect everyone. His dignity, deal with this privately like a rational adult. That was what they expected, what they were counting on. Barrett and Harrison and my mother, they expected me to protect them, to be nice, to be understanding, to quietly disappear so they did not have to face consequences for their betrayals. But sitting there in my car, watching the sun rise over Boston, something happened inside me. Something broke, not my heart. That was already broken, shattered into a million pieces. Not my spirit. That was battered, but not destroyed. What broke was my willingness to protect people who hurt me. My need to be the good girl, the understanding fiancée, the forgiving daughter, the woman who made things easy for everyone else. That part of me died right there in my car at 6:53 in the morning on what was supposed to be my wedding day. And something else was born. Something cold. Something furious. Something absolutely done with being a victim. They thought this would break me. Thought I would cry and fall apart and cancel the wedding and disappear quietly into my shame and pain. They were wrong, because I was not going to cancel the wedding. I was going to that altar, just not with the groom everyone expected. An idea formed in my mind. Terrible, perfect, absolutely insane. But it felt right. It felt like power in a moment when I had none. It felt like revenge. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, scrolled to Kennedy's number. She answered on the second ring. Paige, where are you? We woke up and you were gone and everyone is freaking out and... Kennedy, I interrupted. My voice was surprisingly calm. I need you to do something for me, and you cannot ask questions. She paused. I could hear the concern in her silence. Okay, what do you need? I need you to deliver a message to Harrison Holloway. Tell him if he wants to avoid the biggest scandal of his life, he needs to meet me at the hotel in exactly 1 hour. Suite 412. Alone. Paige, what is going on? What happened? No questions, I said firmly. Please, Kennedy, I need you to trust me. Another pause. Longer this time. Then, okay, I trust you. What's his number? I don't know. But call Holloway Technologies. Ask for his executive assistant. Tell her it's an emergency regarding the wedding. She'll pass the message along. Okay, Kennedy said slowly. Anything else? Yes. Don't tell anyone I called. Don't tell anyone where I am. Just deliver the message. I hung up before she could ask more questions. Then, I drove. Back to the Fairmont Copley Plaza. Back to the hotel suite where my bridesmaids were waiting. Back to the ivory dress hanging in the closet. Back to the wedding that was supposed to start in less than 5 hours. I had work to do, and Harrison Holloway had a choice to make. I walked into the hotel suite at 7:15 in the morning. My bridesmaids were awake, panicked, talking over each other. Where were you? Alexis rushed over. We woke up and you were just gone and no one knew where you went and we thought maybe something happened. I'm fine, I said. My voice sounded strange. Calm. Too calm. I just needed some air. Kennedy was watching me carefully. She knew. She could see something was wrong. Something was very wrong. But she did not say anything. Just gave me a look that said we would talk later. The hair and makeup people are here. Another bridesmaid said, "We need to start getting you ready." "Okay," I said. "Let's do it." For the next hour, I sat in a chair while they transformed me into a bride, curled my hair into soft waves, painted my face with foundation and blush and eyeshadow, made me look beautiful and radiant and happy. I felt none of those things. I felt cold, empty, like I was watching myself from outside my body. But I smiled when they told me to smile, laughed when they made jokes, played the part perfectly. At 8:10, there was a knock on the suite door. Kennedy went to answer it, came back looking confused and a little scared. Paige, there's a Harrison Holloway here to see you. He says you asked him to come?" Everyone stopped, looked at me, confused. Harrison Holloway was the groom's father. Why was he here? "I need everyone to give us the room," I said, standing up. "Just for a few minutes." "Paige, what's going on?" Alexis asked. "Please," I said. "Just trust me. Go to the bedroom. Close the door. Give me 5 minutes." They looked at each other, looked at me. Something in my face must have convinced them because they went, all of them filing into the bedroom and closing the door behind them. Kennedy was the last one. She paused at the door. "Are you okay?" she whispered. "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." She nodded, squeezed my hand, then closed the door. I turned to face the living room of the suite. Harrison Holloway walked in. He looked exactly the same as he had 2 hours ago in my bedroom. Perfectly composed. Expensive suit. Hair immaculate. Those sharp gray eyes taking in everything. The wedding dress hanging by the window. The flowers. The champagne. All the trappings of a day that was supposed to be perfect. "What do you want, Miss Dalton?" he asked. No preamble. No apology. Just straight to business. To make a deal, I said, one eyebrow raised. The only sign of surprise. I don't negotiate with emotional young women who are having a crisis. You negotiate with everyone. I said, "You're a businessman. Everything has a price. Everything is a transaction. So let's transact." He studied me for a long moment. Those gray eyes assessing, calculating, trying to figure out my angle. "I'm listening," he finally said. I walked closer, looked him straight in the eye. "You destroyed my wedding. You and my mother and your son. All three of you lied to me, used me, betrayed me in ways I'm still trying to comprehend. I didn't. You've been sleeping with my mother for 6 months," I interrupted, "in my house, while I planned my wedding, while I believed in my future. That's betrayal, Mr. Holloway. That's destruction." His jaw tightened slightly. "What do you want?" "Money. I can write you a check right now. Name your price. 1 million, 2 million. Whatever it takes to make this go away quietly." "I don't want your money." "Then what?" I took a breath. This was it. The moment of no return. The craziest thing I had ever done or would ever do. "I want you to marry me." Silence. Complete, absolute, shocked silence. Harrison Holloway stared at me like I had just spoken in ancient Greek. Like the words made no sense. Like he could not possibly have heard me correctly. "Excuse me?" he finally said. "I want you to marry me." I repeated, clearly, firmly, today, at the Fairmont, in front of everyone. "I want you to stand at that altar instead of your son and marry me." He continued to stare. Then he laughed, a short, sharp sound with no humor in it. "That's absurd, is it?" I stepped closer. "You've been sleeping with my mother. You clearly have no problem with age differences or complicated family dynamics. And think about it, Harrison. Really think about it." He was not laughing anymore. "Barrett just publicly humiliated you." I continued, "Your son chose to destroy his own wedding rather than face you. What does that say about the great Harrison Holloway? What does that say about your relationship with your only child?" His jaw clenched. I could see I had hit a nerve. But if you marry me, I said, you win. You take what was supposed to be his. You show him and everyone else that you're still more powerful, still in control. You prove that even his rebellion doesn't touch you. This is revenge. He said. Absolutely. I agreed. Against all of them. Barrett loses his father and his inheritance when you marry me. My mother loses her daughter forever. And you get exactly what you've always wanted. Complete and total control. I'm 62 years old, Miss Dalton. So, I'm 30. We're both adults. We both know what we want. You don't even like me. I don't like anyone right now. I said honestly, but I respect you more than I respect them. At least you're honest about being ruthless. At least you don't pretend to be something you're not. He moved to the window, looked out at the Boston skyline. I could see him thinking, calculating, weighing the options like this was a business deal. Which it was. Why would I agree to this? He asked without turning around. Because Barrett just proved he's not strong enough to run your company. I said. He crumbled under pressure. Chose the easy lie over the hard truth. But I'm a corporate attorney who just negotiated her own wedding day revenge plot in under an hour. That's the kind of ruthlessness you actually value. He turned back to me. Something like amusement flickered in his eyes. And you think you can handle being married to me? I think we can handle a mutually beneficial arrangement. I said. You need an heir who isn't a disappointment. I need revenge and a fresh start. We both need to destroy the people who betrayed us. This is insane. Yes, it will be the scandal of the decade. The best kind. Free publicity for your company. Everyone will be talking about Harrison Holloway. Isn't that what you want? He studied me for a long moment. I could see him working through it. The angles, the benefits, the risks. You're serious, he said. This isn't just an emotional outburst. Completely serious. I met his eyes. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. He crossed his arms. One condition. What? This isn't just pretend. If we do this, we do it properly. Real marriage, real partnership. I won't be made a fool of. I won't be used as a prop in your revenge plot and then discarded. If I'm doing this, we're both all in. I won't make you a fool. I said. I promise you that. And this marriage will be real. He said. Legal, binding, consummated. No annulments, no secret plans to divorce in 6 months. If we do this, we commit. I understand, do you? He stepped closer. Because I'm not a kind man, Miss Dalton. I'm not warm or romantic or easy to live with. I built an empire by being ruthless, by never backing down, by winning at all costs. If you marry me, that's what you get. Can you handle that? I just lost my fiance and my mother on my wedding day. I said, I think I can handle you. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. One more thing. I said, what? I want my mother in the front row. I want her to watch this. Watch me marry you. Watch her daughter become her lover's wife. I want her to see exactly what her betrayal cost her. His smile widened. Actually widened into something real and sharp and approving. Cruel. I appreciate that. Is that a yes? He held out his hand. Professional. Formal. Like we were closing a business deal. We have an agreement, Miss Dalton. He said, I'll marry you today. Real marriage, real partnership, real commitment. In exchange, we both get our revenge and a fresh start. I shook his hand. His grip was firm, commanding, final. There's one more condition. I said, from me. What? After today, after we walk down that aisle, you never touch my mother again. You never speak to her, never acknowledge her, never give her the time of day. She's dead to both of us. Done, he said without hesitation. She meant nothing anyway. The coldness of that statement should have scared me, should have made me reconsider. But instead, it was almost comforting. At least he was honest. At least he didn't pretend. We need to tell the officiant, I said, and the wedding planner. They need to know there's been a change. Leave that to me. Harrison pulled out his phone. I'll handle the logistics. You just get ready. I'll see you at the altar in 3.5 hours. He walked toward the door, then paused, looked back at me. For what it's worth, Miss Dalton, he said, Barrett was a fool to let you go, but his loss is my gain. Then he left, and I stood alone in the hotel suite, having just agreed to marry my ex-fiance's father in the most insane act of revenge ever conceived. The bedroom door opened. Kennedy came out first, followed by the others. "Okay," Kennedy said. "You need to tell us what is happening right now." I took a breath. "Sit down, all of you." They sat, looking at me with confused, concerned faces. "Barrett called me this morning." I started. 6 hours before our wedding. He told me he couldn't marry me. Gasps. Hands flying to mouths. "Oh my God, Paige. He told me he's gay." I continued. That he's known for years but was too afraid of his father's reaction to admit it. That he was using me as a cover. More gasps. More shock. But I wasn't done. Then I went to the house to get some things, and I found my mother in bed with Harrison Holloway. They've been having an affair for 6 months. The room exploded. Everyone talking at once. "What? No. That can't be. Your mother? Oh my God." I held up my hand. They quieted. So I made a decision. I said, "I'm not canceling the wedding." Everyone stared. "I'm still walking down that aisle today. I'm still getting married, just not to Barrett." Kennedy's eyes widened. She understood first. "No, Paige, no." "Yes," I said. "Harrison Holloway agreed to marry me instead." "You can't be serious," Alexis said. "Paige, he's 62 years old. He's your ex-fiance's father. This is insane." "It's revenge," I said. "It's the only power I have left, and I'm taking it. This is crazy." Another bridesmaid said, "You can't marry someone you don't love just for revenge." "I don't love anyone right now," I said, "but at least Harrison is honest about what this is. At least he's not lying to me. And at least when I walk down that aisle, everyone will know exactly what Barrett and my mother did." Kennedy came over, took my hands. "Are you absolutely sure about this? Once you do this, there's no taking it back." "I'm sure," I said. "I've never been more sure of anything." She studied my face, then nodded. "Okay, then let's get you married." The next 3 hours were a blur. Hair and makeup finishing, getting into my dress, the ivory silk and lace that I had chosen thinking I would wear it to marry Barrett. Now I would wear it to marry his father. The irony was not lost on me. Kennedy kept giving me concerned looks. "Are you really okay?" she asked while helping me with my veil. "No," I said honestly. "I'm destroyed. But this makes me feel like I have some control. Like I'm not just a victim." "You're not a victim," she said firmly. "You're a survivor. And what you're doing, it's brave. Insane, but brave." The wedding planner called, confirmed that she had been informed of the change in groom. She sounded thoroughly confused but professional. "Mr. Holloway has taken care of everything," she said. "The officiant has been briefed. The change has been made. We'll proceed as planned at noon." "Thank you," I said. At 11:45, it was time. I stood in front of the mirror in my wedding dress. Hair perfect. Makeup perfect. Looking like a bride. But I felt like a warrior going into battle. Kennedy handed me my bouquet. White roses and peonies. The flowers my mother had chosen. "You ready?" she asked. "Let's burn it all down," I said. We walked to the entrance of the ballroom. I could hear music playing inside. Voices. Laughter. 200 people who had no idea what was about to happen. Through the crack in the doors, I could see the altar. See Harrison standing there in a different tuxedo than he had worn to the rehearsal dinner. Custom-made, perfectly fitted, looking every inch the powerful billionaire he was. I saw my mother in the front row, wearing her lavender dress. She didn't know yet. Didn't know what was coming. I saw Barrett sitting 3 rows back, also oblivious. The wedding planner came over. "It's time, Paige. Are you ready?" "I'm ready." The doors opened. Music swelled. That traditional wedding march that was supposed to accompany my walk to marry Barrett. Instead, I walked toward his father. Every head turned. Confused murmurs started immediately. People standing up, looking between me and the altar, trying to understand what they were seeing, because standing at the altar was not Barrett. It was Harrison. I saw the moment my mother realized. Her face went white, then red. Her mouth fell open in shock and horror. I saw Barrett stand up, face twisted in confusion, but I kept walking, head high, eyes forward, every step deliberate and powerful. Halfway down the aisle, the murmurs got louder. People were talking, pointing, completely confused. I reached the altar. Harrison's eyes met mine. Last chance to run. He murmured so only I could hear. Not a chance, I said. The officiant looked thoroughly uncomfortable but professional. He opened his book, began in a shaking voice. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Harrison Holloway and Paige Dalton. Stop! Barrett's voice cut through the room like a knife. He was on his feet, face red. You can't do this. Every head turned to him. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Harrison turned slowly, looked at his son with an expression of cold amusement. Can't I? She's my fiance, Barrett shouted. She was, Harrison said, each word precise and cutting. You ended that this morning. Remember, when you told her you couldn't marry her? When you broke her heart 6 hours before your wedding? The crowd erupted, people turning to each other, talking over each other, completely shocked. My mother stood up. Her face was streaming with tears. Paige, please, don't do this because you're hurt. This isn't you. Harrison looked at her then, really looked at her, and his expression was pure ice. Sit down, Jillian, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire room. You've done enough. The power in those words. The absolute command. My mother sat back down like her legs had been cut out from under her. Harrison looked at the crowd, at 200 shocked faces staring at us. For those who are confused, he said, let me clarify. My son called off his wedding this morning, told Miss Dalton he couldn't marry her. Miss Dalton and I have decided to marry instead. Anyone who has a problem with this is welcome to leave. Nobody moved. They were too shocked, too riveted by the scandal unfolding in front of them. Harrison looked at the officiant. Continue. The officiant swallowed hard, looked at his book. We are here to join Harrison Holloway and Paige Dalton in matrimony. Barrett was still standing. Dad, you can't be serious. This is insane. She's 30 years old. She was supposed to marry me, and yet you ended that. Harrison said, you made your choice this morning. I'm making mine now. You're doing this to punish me. I'm doing this because your bride-to-be is more impressive than you ever were. Harrison's words were brutal. She turned her devastation into strategy in under 3 hours. That's more backbone than you've shown in 32 years. Barrett's face crumpled. The crowd was eating this up. Phones were out. People were recording. I should have felt bad for Barrett. Should have felt something. But I felt nothing. Just cold satisfaction. The officiant continued shakily. If anyone has objections to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Barrett opened his mouth. Harrison looked at him. Just looked at him with those cold gray eyes. Barrett closed his mouth. Sat down. My mother was sobbing. Loud, ugly sobs. But nobody paid attention to her. We have come to the vows. The officiant said, Harrison, do you take Paige to be your lawfully wedded wife? Harrison looked at me. Really looked at me. I do, he said. And then he continued, off script. Paige, I'm not a romantic man. I won't promise you poetry or passion or fairy tale love, but I can promise you honesty, partnership, respect, and a life where you'll never be underestimated or betrayed again. I promise you power, and I promise you'll never regret choosing me today. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. The officiant looked at me. Paige, do you take Harrison to be your lawfully wedded husband? I looked at him. This man who was my ex-fiance's father. This man who had been sleeping with my mother. This man who was ruthless and cold and completely honest about what he was. I do, I said. Then I continued. Harrison, I'm marrying you for revenge. We both know that. But I'm also marrying you because you're the only person in this room who hasn't lied to me today. You told me exactly what this marriage would be. No illusions. No false promises. Just brutal honesty. And right now, that's more valuable than love. Someone in the crowd gasped. Probably scandalized. But I didn't care. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant said quickly, like he wanted to get through this before someone actually objected. You may kiss the bride. Harrison stepped closer, put one hand on my waist, the other cupped my jaw, and he kissed me. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't gentle. It was possessive, claiming, a statement to everyone watching that I was his now. When we broke apart, he tucked my hand in his arm. "Shall we, Mrs. Holloway?" he murmured. Mrs. Holloway, the name that was supposed to be mine when I married Barrett. Now it was mine because I married his father. We turned to face the crowd, husband and wife, and we walked down the aisle together, past my mother, who was completely broken, crying so hard she could barely breathe, past Barrett, whose face was a mixture of shock and rage, and something that looked almost like respect, past 200 guests who were already pulling out their phones, texting, calling, spreading the news of the most scandalous wedding Boston had ever seen. But I didn't care. I held my head high, held Harrison's arm, and I walked out of that ballroom feeling something I hadn't felt in hours: power. We made it to the hallway outside the ballroom. The doors closed behind us, and we were alone. I turned to Harrison. "We just did that." "We did," he said. "How do you feel?" "Like I'm going to throw up." He laughed. Actually laughed. A real sound. "That's fair, but you played your part perfectly. So did you. We have a reception to get through," he said. "Can you handle 2 more hours of this?" "I can handle anything." I said, "I just married my ex-fiance's father. A reception is nothing. Before we went into the reception hall, I need you to pause this story. Take a breath. Because what you just witnessed, it's only the beginning. If you're feeling this story, if you're on the edge of your seat, I need you to show me. Hit that like button right now. Smash it. Because we're about to get into the aftermath, the consequences, the transformation. And trust me, you don't want to miss a second of it. Comment below. Tell me what you're thinking right now. Are you Team Paige? Team Harrison? Or do you think this whole thing is insane? Tell me where you're watching from, or just say I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's been betrayed. Someone who thinks revenge is wrong. Show them that sometimes taking your power back looks different than people expect. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because this story is far from over. We're just getting started. Now let's talk about what happened next. The reception was chaos in the best possible way. Guests filed in, still talking about what they just witnessed. Some looked scandalized. Some looked fascinated. Some looked like they couldn't believe their luck at being part of the best gossip Boston had seen in decades. Harrison and I sat at the head table. His hand rested on mine. To anyone watching, we looked like a normal bride and groom, but we both knew what this really was. A business transaction, a revenge plot, a mutual destruction of the people who had hurt us. Harrison's best man, a business associate named Richard, stood to give a toast. He looked thoroughly confused but gamely raised his glass. To Harrison and Paige, he said, "May your marriage be filled with all the surprises today has already brought." People laughed nervously, drank. Then it was time for Harrison to speak. He stood. The room quieted. Everyone wanted to hear what he would say, how he would explain this. "My son once told me I didn't understand love," Harrison began. His voice carried through the silent room. He was right. I understand power, strategy, winning. I built an empire on those principles. People were leaning forward, listening. Today I won. Harrison continued. I gained a wife who understands the same things I do, who values honesty over romance, strategy over sentiment, who turned her worst day into her greatest power move. He looked at me. Paige is remarkable. Not because she's beautiful, though she is. Not because she's accomplished, though she is that too. But because when life tried to destroy her, she refused to be destroyed. She strategized. She took control. She chose herself. He raised his glass. To my wife, my partner, my equal in all the ways that matter. The room erupted in applause. Some people were crying. Some were still shocked. But everyone drank. I stood then. Hadn't planned to speak, but suddenly I needed to. Thank you all for being here, I said. I know this isn't the wedding you expected. It's not the wedding I expected either. Nervous laughter. This morning I woke up thinking I would marry one man. Instead, I married another, and I know what you're all thinking. This is revenge. This is scandal. This is wrong. The room was dead silent. Maybe it is all those things. I continued. But it's also honest. Harrison and I made a deal today. A partnership built on truth instead of lies, on respect instead of betrayal. We chose each other with clear eyes and no illusions. And that's more than most marriages have. I looked at my mother. She was still crying, still broken. Some people in this room betrayed me today. I said, people I trusted, people I loved. They thought it would break me, thought I would quietly disappear and protect their secrets. I paused, let the words sink in. They were wrong. I said, because I don't protect people who hurt me anymore. I protect myself. And if that makes me cruel or vindictive or wrong, I can live with that. I sat down. Harrison squeezed my hand under the table. Well done, he murmured. We cut the cake, danced our first dance to a song I had chosen for Barrett, but that worked just as well for Harrison. Maybe better. As we danced, Harrison spoke quietly. You know this will be everywhere by morning. Social media, news outlets, tabloids, the billionaire who married his son's fiancée. This is major news. Good, I said. Let everyone know what they did. Let everyone see who they really are. You're ruthless, he said. It sounded like a compliment. I like that. I learned from the best. I looked up at him. You built an empire on being ruthless. I just applied that to my personal life. We're going to do well together, he said. I can feel it. I hope so, because there's no going back from this. No, he agreed. There isn't. After the first dance, guests started approaching us. Some to congratulate, some to try to get the real story, some just to be part of the drama. I saw Barrett leave halfway through the reception. He didn't say goodbye, just slipped out when he thought no one was looking. But I saw, and I felt nothing. My mother tried to approach me 3 times. Each time, Harrison intercepted her, told her quietly but firmly that she wasn't welcome. The 3rd time, he had security escort her out. I watched her being led away, watched her crying and begging, and I felt something crack in my chest. Not regret, not forgiveness, just finality, the end of something that used to matter. You okay? Harrison asked. I will be, I said. The reception lasted another 2 hours. We played our parts perfectly, smiling, dancing, accepting congratulations. To the outside world, we looked like a happy couple. And maybe we were, just not in the traditional way. Finally, mercifully, it was over. The last guest left. We were alone in the reception hall, surrounded by flowers and half-empty champagne glasses and the wreckage of the day. We did it, I said. We did. Harrison loosened his tie. Now comes the hard part. What? Living with the consequences. Building a real marriage from this chaos. Are you having regrets? No, he said immediately. Are you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said. This feels right. Insane, but right. Good. He took my hand. Let's go home, Mrs. Holloway. Home. To the Beacon Hill mansion that was now mine too. To the life I had just chosen in the most unconventional way possible. We drove in silence, both processing, both exhausted. When we got to the mansion, Harrison opened the car door for me, offered his hand. I took it. Inside, the house was quiet, dark, waiting. Drink? Harrison asked. Please. We sat in his study. Expensive scotch in crystal glasses, still in our wedding clothes. I need to ask you something, I said. What? What happens now? Tomorrow? Next week? Next month? What does this marriage actually look like? He considered the question. We live together, build a partnership, support each other's careers, present a united front to the world, and we're honest, always honest. That's the foundation of this. And the physical side? He looked at me steadily. I won't force anything, but this is a real marriage, Paige, not on paper. If and when you're ready, I'm here. But I can wait. Thank you, I said, for being honest. Always. He said, that's what we promised each other. I went to bed alone that night. Harrison showed me to a guest room. Your room, he said, until you decide otherwise. I lay in the dark in my wedding dress, too tired to change, too overwhelmed to process everything that had happened. I had woken up as Barrett's fiancée. I was going to bed as Harrison's wife, and somehow, impossibly, I felt like I had won. The next morning, I woke to my phone exploding. Hundreds of texts, missed calls, voicemails, all asking the same thing. What happened? Is it true? Did you really marry his father? I scrolled through social media. We were everywhere. Every gossip site, every news outlet, every trending topic. Billionaire Harrison Holloway marries son's fiancée in shocking wedding day twist. Boston's most scandalous wedding. Bride dumps groom for his father. Videos from the ceremony were everywhere. People had recorded everything. My walk down the aisle. Barrett's outburst. Harrison's vows. My response. All of it captured and shared and dissected by millions of strangers. I should have felt ashamed, embarrassed, horrified. Instead, I felt powerful, like I had taken my narrative back, like I was no longer the victim but the author of my own story. Harrison knocked on my door. "Breakfast?" he called. I found him in the kitchen. He had made coffee, set out pastries, was reading something on his tablet. "Good morning, Mrs. Holloway," he said without looking up. "Good morning." I poured coffee. "We're everywhere," I noticed. He finally looked up. "How do you feel about that?" "Surprisingly okay." I sat across from him. Let them talk. Let them judge. At least they're talking about the truth. The company stock is up 5%. He said, "Turns out scandal is good for business." I laughed. "Of course it is. We have decisions to make." He said, "The honeymoon was supposed to be Bora Bora. I assume you don't want to go there." "Definitely not. I have business in Italy next week, Amalfi Coast. You could come with me. We could call it a honeymoon." "Italy sounds good." "And Paige," he said seriously, "we need to discuss living arrangements. Your things are still at the townhouse. We should get them. Bring them here. Make this your home too. I'm not ready to go back there yet. I'll have people pack everything and bring it here. You don't have to see that house again if you don't want to. Thank you." We spent the morning in comfortable silence, reading news articles about ourselves, laughing at the more ridiculous theories, ignoring the calls and texts that wouldn't stop. Around noon, the doorbell rang. Harrison went to answer it, came back, looking grim. "Your mother is here," he said. "She wants to talk to you." "I don't want to see her." I told her that. "She's refusing to leave. Says she'll wait on the doorstep as long as it takes." I took a breath. "Fine. I'll talk to her. But you stay." "Of course." We went to the front door, opened it. My mother stood there. She looked terrible. Eyes swollen from crying. Hair a mess. Still in the lavender dress from yesterday. "Baby," she said. Her voice was hoarse. "Please, I need to talk to you. You have 5 minutes," I said. "Say what you need to say." "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Paige. I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant to hurt you, but you did," I said. "For 6 months, you lied to me, slept with my fiancé's father in my house, helped plan my wedding while betraying me in the worst possible way. I was lonely," she said. "After your father left, after all those years alone, I just wanted to feel wanted, desired. Harrison made me feel young again. So you destroyed your daughter's life because you were lonely?" "I didn't think. I just—" "That's the problem, Mom," I interrupted. "You didn't think. You didn't care. You just did what you wanted and didn't consider the consequences. I love you." She reached for me. "I'm still your mother." I stepped back. "No. You stopped being my mother when you made that choice, when you chose your own desires over your daughter's happiness. Please don't do this," she begged. "I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I'm still your mother. That has to count for something." "It doesn't," I said. "Not anymore. You married his father," she shouted suddenly, angry now. "You married the man I was sleeping with. You became exactly like us." "No," I said firmly. "I chose honesty over lies. Harrison and I are clear about what we are. We made a deal with open eyes and no illusions. You and Barrett hid in shadows and called it love. We're nothing alike." Harrison stepped forward. "This conversation is over," he said. "You need to leave, Jillian. You did this." My mother turned on him. "You destroyed her, turned her into something cold and heartless." "No," Harrison said calmly. "You did that. I just gave her the tools to fight back. Security will escort you out," Harrison said. "And if you come back, I'll file a restraining order. 2 security guards appeared, gently but firmly took my mother's arms. "Baby, please," she cried as they led her away. "Please don't do this. You're all I have. You should have thought of that before," I said, and then I closed the door. I stood there shaking. Harrison's hand found my shoulder. "You did the right thing," he said quietly. "Then why does it hurt so much?" "Because she's still your mother. Pain doesn't stop just because someone deserves your anger." I turned, buried my face in his chest, and I cried, really cried for the first time since this all started. He held me, didn't try to fix it or make it better, just held me while I fell apart. That was the first moment I saw Harrison as more than a business partner, as more than a revenge plot, as a man who could be kind when it mattered. We left for Italy 3 days later. The Amalfi Coast was beautiful. Our villa overlooked the ocean, white stone and blue shutters and lemon trees everywhere. Harrison had business meetings during the days. I spent time alone, reading, painting, processing everything that had happened. We had dinner together every night, on the terrace overlooking the water, and slowly, carefully, we started to talk, really talk, not about the wedding or the scandal, about ourselves, our childhoods, our fears, our dreams. I told him about my father leaving, about feeling abandoned and unwanted, about working so hard to be enough. He told me about his wife dying, about being left alone with a young son he didn't know how to raise, about choosing work over family because work was easier. We bonded over loss, over loneliness, over the walls we had built to protect ourselves. On the 4th night, after wine and dinner and watching the sunset, something shifted between us. We were sitting close on the terrace couch. His arm was around my shoulders. It felt natural, comfortable. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Anything. Why did you really agree to marry me?" "The real reason." He was quiet for a long moment. "Because when you walked into that hotel suite and proposed the most insane plan I'd ever heard, I saw something in you I hadn't seen in years." "What?" "Fire, passion, the willingness to risk everything for what you wanted. Barrett never had that. He was always so afraid, so desperate for approval. But you were afraid and you did it anyway. I was terrified. I admitted. I know. But you didn't let that stop you. And I thought, if this woman can be that brave on the worst day of her life, I want to see what she can do with support behind her." "That's very kind." "It's honest," he corrected. "I don't do kind. I do honest." "I know. That's what I like about you." He looked at me then, really looked at me. We were very close, close enough that I could see the silver in his eyes, close enough to kiss. "Paige," he said quietly, "I need to tell you something." "What?" "I'm attracted to you, have been since the wedding, maybe before, and I know that's probably inappropriate given the circumstances, but I promised you honesty." "I appreciate the honesty," I said. My heart was racing. "I won't act on it unless you want me to." He continued, "This marriage can be whatever you need it to be, but I needed you to know." "What if I want you to act on it?" I asked. "Do you?" "I think so," I said. "I know it's crazy. I know this whole situation is insane. But yes, I think I do." He kissed me then. Soft at first, testing, making sure. I kissed him back, and it was nothing like kissing Barrett. There was heat, real want. We spent that night together, and it wasn't just physical. It was connection, real connection. Afterward, lying in his arms in the Italian villa, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel. Hope. Maybe this marriage could be more than revenge. Maybe it could be something real. "We're going to be okay," Harrison said in the dark. "Aren't we?" "I think we might be better than okay," I said. And I meant it. We stayed in Italy for 2 weeks, and every day we grew closer. The partnership became friendship. Friendship became affection. Affection became something deeper. By the time we flew back to Boston, we were really married, not just on paper, in every way that mattered. The media was still obsessed with us, but we didn't care. We had found something unexpected in the wreckage, each other. Back in Boston, we settled into married life. I moved my things into Harrison's room, our room, made the mansion our home. I went back to work at Morrison and Crane. My colleagues were shocked but professional. Some congratulated me. Some whispered behind my back. I didn't care. 3 months after the wedding, Harrison made me an offer. Leave Morrison and Crane, he said over breakfast one morning. Start your own firm. I can't just start a firm, I said. That takes capital, clients, infrastructure. I'll back you. Financially, professionally. I have connections. I'll make introductions. But the firm will be yours. Your name, your vision, your success. Why would you do that? Because you're brilliant, and you're wasted at that firm. You should be building something of your own. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Okay, I said, let's do it. Holloway Legal opened 6 months after our wedding. Small office in downtown Boston. Just me and 2 associates. But it was mine. And Harrison was right. With his backing and my skills, clients came. Good clients. Important cases. Within a year, Holloway Legal was one of the top boutique firms in Boston. I was succeeding on my own terms, building something real, and my marriage was thriving too. Harrison and I had found a rhythm. We worked during the day, had dinner together most nights, talked about our cases, our strategies, our goals. We traveled, went to Italy again, to France, to Japan, mixing business and pleasure in a way that worked for both of us. And somewhere along the way, without either of us quite realizing it, we fell in love. Real love. Not the desperate, needy love I had with Barrett, but mature, solid, chosen love. 9 months after our wedding, Harrison came home early from work. Unusual for him. I have something to tell you, he said. My heart stopped. Here it comes. The betrayal. The other woman. The end. I love you, he said. I stared at him. What? I love you, Paige. I fought it for months. Told myself this was just an arrangement, just partnership. But I love you. The way you argue with my board members. The way you take your coffee black because you don't have time for cream. The way you look at me sometimes like you can't believe this actually worked. Tears were streaming down my face. I know you didn't marry me for love, he continued. I know this started as revenge, but I needed you to know. I love you, and I'll keep loving you whether you love me back or not. I do, I said, my voice breaking. I love you too, you impossible man. He looked genuinely shocked. You do? I have for months. I just didn't think you wanted to hear it. He laughed, pulled me close, kissed me like it was our first time. This is definitely better than revenge, I said when we came up for air. Definitely. He agreed. That night, we made love, but it was different. It wasn't just physical. It was an expression of real feeling, real commitment. We had started as a business transaction, but we had become real partners, real spouses, really in love. 1 year after our wedding, we celebrated our anniversary, quietly, just the 2 of us, back in Italy at the same villa. Thank you, I said as we watched the sunset. For what? For being honest, for being patient, for seeing something in me worth investing in. You invested in yourself, he said. I just provided capital. Still, this life, this marriage, this partnership, it's more than I ever expected. Same, he said. When you walked into that hotel suite a year ago with your insane plan, I thought it would be interesting at most, useful at best. I never expected this. What? Real love, real partnership, a real wife who challenges me and supports me and makes me better. You make me better too, I said. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun paint the sky gold and pink and orange. Do you have any regrets? He asked. About what? Marrying me instead of Barrett, choosing revenge over a clean break. Any of it. I thought about it, honestly thought about it. No, I said. Barrett would have kept lying. I would have kept pretending. We would have been miserable. But you and I, we built something real from chaos. I don't regret that. Neither do I, he said. 2 years after our wedding, Barrett reached out. An email, short and to the point. Congratulations on your anniversary. I saw the photo in the society pages. You both look happy. I'm happy too. Living in San Francisco now, out and proud. With someone who loves me for who I really am. I'm sorry for everything I put you through. You deserved better. And I'm glad you found it. Even if it was with my father, that part is still weird. But if you're happy, I'm happy for you. Take care. I showed the email to Harrison. What do you think? I asked. I think he's finally growing up, Harrison said. Do you want to respond? I wrote back a simple message. Thank you. I'm glad you're happy too. No hard feelings. Paige. And I meant it. I had no anger left for Barrett. He had done me a favor, really. By ending our engagement, he had freed me to find something better. My mother was harder to let go of. She tried to contact me dozens of times in those first 2 years. Letters, emails, calls, always the same message. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You're all I have. I didn't respond. Couldn't respond. The wound was too deep. But 3 years after the wedding, I got a different kind of message. From a hospital in Portland. My mother had attempted suicide. She was in psychiatric care. They wanted to know if I would visit. I showed Harrison the message. You don't owe her anything. He said, but if you need to see her, I'll support you. I think I need to, I said. Not for her. For me. For closure. We flew to Portland together, went to the hospital. She looked so small in that hospital bed. So broken. Baby, she whispered when she saw me. You came. I'm here, I said, but not because I forgive you. Because I need to say something. She nodded, tears already falling. What you did almost destroyed me. I said, you betrayed me in the worst possible way. And I will never forget that. Never fully forgive it. I know, but I also don't want you to die. So I'm going to do something for you. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. What? I'm paying for your treatment. Real treatment. Therapy, medication, whatever you need. But there are conditions. She nodded eagerly. Anything. You stay in treatment until you're actually better. You don't contact me unless I reach out first. And you understand that our relationship will never be what it was. I'm not your daughter anymore. Not in the way I was. That person died 3 years ago. I understand, she whispered. Thank you. I don't deserve this. No, I agreed. You don't. But I do. I deserve to not carry this anger forever. We left after that. Harrison held my hand the whole flight home. How do you feel? He asked. Lighter, I said, like I finally let go of something heavy. Good, he said. You deserve to be free. 4 years after our wedding, we had another anniversary celebration. This time, not just the two of us. Kennedy was there with her husband. Some colleagues from my firm. Some of Harrison's business associates. But the most important guest was the smallest. Our daughter, Catherine, 1-year-old. Perfect. I hadn't planned to get pregnant. It just happened. And when I told Harrison, he cried. Actually cried with joy. A second chance. He said, to be the father, I should have been the first time. And he was. He was patient and involved and devoted. He read parenting books, took paternity leave, changed diapers at 3 a.m. without complaint. Watching him with Catherine made me fall even more in love with him. This, I thought, this is what I was meant to find. 5 years after our wedding, we were at a charity gala. The same one where I had met Barrett years ago. Full circle, Barrett was there, with his boyfriend. They looked happy. We ran into each other at the bar. Paige, he said, you look well. Thank you. So do you. I saw the photos of Catherine. She's beautiful. She is. Thank you. There was a pause. Awkward, but not hostile. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Are you happy? Really happy? With my father. I looked across the room. Harrison was talking to a business associate, but he looked over at me. Our eyes met. He smiled. Yes, I said. Really, genuinely happy. Good. Barrett said. I'm glad. You deserve it. So do you. And I meant it. He walked away. And I felt nothing. No pain, no anger, no regret. Just peace. Harrison came over. Everything okay? He asked. Perfect. I said. Everything is absolutely perfect. 7 years after our wedding, present day, we're hosting our own charity gala at our home to benefit causes we both care about. Catherine is starting school. We're talking about having another child. My firm is thriving. Harrison's company is stronger than ever. and we're still in love, still partners, still choosing each other every single day. In his speech that night, Harrison talks about transformation, about how the worst moments can become the best beginnings if you're brave enough. 7 years ago, he says, I made the best deal of my life. I married a woman who was supposed to marry my son. Everyone said it was scandal, revenge, destined to fail. The room is quiet, listening. They were wrong. He continues, because Paige and I didn't just survive the scandal. We built something beautiful from it. A real partnership, a real family, real love. He looks at me, to my wife, who proved that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself, even when everyone else thinks you're crazy. I stand, walk to him, kiss him while everyone applauds. Later, when the guests have gone and Catherine is asleep and we're alone, Harrison asks me a question. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had just canceled the wedding? Walked away clean? Sometimes, I admit. But then I look at our life, our daughter, our partnership, and I know I made the right choice, even though it was revenge. It started as revenge, I say, but it became something so much better. It became real. He pulls me close. I love you, he says. Still, always, I love you too. And that's my story. The story of how my fiancé told me he was gay to avoid marrying me, how I found him in bed with my mother, how I walked down the aisle anyway, to his father. People call it scandal, revenge, the craziest thing they've ever heard. I call it the best decision I ever made, because here's what I learned. When someone betrays you, you have a choice. You can be a victim, or you can take your power back. I chose power. I chose myself. I chose honesty over pretty lies. And yes, I married my ex-fiancé's father in an act of revenge. But that revenge transformed into real love, real partnership, real family. Would I recommend a revenge marriage to everyone? Absolutely not. This story is unique, specific to my situation. But I do recommend this. When life destroys your plans, don't just survive. Strategize. Take control. Choose yourself first. Stop protecting people who hurt you. Stop being nice when you should be strong. Stop making yourself small to make others comfortable. Choose yourself. Always choose yourself. Barrett thought he was ending our relationship. He gave me freedom. My mother thought she was getting away with betrayal. She gave me clarity about who deserved my love. And Harrison. Harrison gave me honesty when everyone else gave me lies. Partnership when everyone else gave me betrayal. Real love when I thought love was dead. We built something beautiful from something broken. And that's the real lesson. You can take the worst day of your life and transform it, not by pretending it didn't hurt, but by using that pain to become someone stronger. I'm not the same woman who woke up on her wedding day 5 years ago. That woman was naive, trusting, willing to accept less than she deserved. The woman I am now knows her worth, demands honesty, builds partnerships based on respect, and I have a marriage that reflects that, a real partnership with a man who sees me as an equal, who challenges me and supports me and loves me. So if you're watching this from wherever you are, remember this. Your betrayal doesn't define you. Your response does. Choose power. Choose honesty. Choose yourself. And watch what you build from the ashes. Before I go, I need you to do one final thing. If this story impacted you, if it changed how you think about betrayal, or revenge or second chances, hit that like button one more time. Comment below with the biggest lesson you're taking from this. What will you remember? Tell me where you're watching from. New York, California, Texas, anywhere in the world. Or just say I'm with you, Mr. Hearthline. Share this story with someone who's been betrayed, someone who thinks they can't recover, someone who needs to know that sometimes the worst day leads to the best years. And subscribe, because we tell stories here about real people facing real pain and finding real triumph. Stories about choosing yourself, about surviving and thriving. My name is Paige Holloway. 7 years ago, my fiancé told me he was gay to avoid marrying me. That same night, I found him in bed with my mother. I walked down the aisle anyway, to his father. People called it the scandal of the decade. I call it my salvation, because that decision, that crazy, impossible, revenge-fueled decision, gave me everything I never knew I needed. A partner who respects me, a love built on truth, a family built on choice. So remember, when life destroys your plans, don't just survive. Take control, choose yourself, and watch what you build. Your story isn't over. It's just getting good. Until next time, this is Mr. Hearthline, reminding you that sometimes the wrong choice at the right time becomes the best decision you ever made. I'm with you, always.